Our next reader, as I was saying earlier, since we had our Bukowski-esque, we will have a Burroughs-esque. Is that okay to say that? Oh, you're doing both? Well, we know about you. You swing both ways. So, you know I'm right. So, writing in the beat tradition of the North American Highway, it's one of B.W.'s books. His latest book's a collection of flash fiction and erotica. It's titled North Beach and Other Stories. He also publishes that's published by Hercules Press. You can follow him on Instagram at BeatPW. And my good friend and partner in crime, P.W. Covington.
Thank you, Sean. Thank y'all for showing up, man. Burroughs and Bukowski panel. Yeah, like you said, we showed up today, and as some are apt to do, a few questions. You can talk about what's going on. Like, man, I don't know. This was a drunken rambling at night, and then it went directly from there. Here we are. Bukowski for breakfast. My note says, "That's how I'm going to start off," and it reminds me of how it was going to start off for you. A few years back, I was at the beginning of one of those where you get in the car and you drive around the country for like 2 weeks, reading poetry everywhere, and you forget about everything. And maybe you catch a little bit of NPR here and there, but really the rest of the world does whatever the fuck it does, and you're reading poetry every night, and drinking a lot, sleeping very little, driving more than anything else. That's at the very start of that, at a luxurious Red Roof Inn out here on the edge of town. And I forget exactly what I was in town for. It could have been something similar to this. But I was getting checked in there. There was a homicide unit working the apartment complex over what was once a privacy fence on the back of the property there. And it looked like every cop in Corpus was out there, because this doesn't happen every day here, and they all wanted to go over there. And it was just kind of cool seeing that, oh really, they have crime scene units and everything here in this town. That's cool. And I went to sleep. Woke up the next morning. I wrote this poem. It's called Bukowski for Breakfast in Corpus Christi. Cheap motel, morning, 100 miles away from home. Last night's homicide scene out the back window. No in-room coffee pot, just CNN and the local TV news. I shut it off and read Bukowski for breakfast. And I'm pretty sure the exact book I picked up was this book here. It's a collection called The Flash of Lightning Behind the Mountain, New Poems, and these are poems that were published after his death. And this is a piece of his entitled Throwing Away the Alarm Clock. And I'm feeling this. My father always said, early to bed and early to rise makes a man healthy, wealthy, and wise. It was lights out at 8 p.m. in our house, and we were up at dawn to the smell of coffee, frying bacon, and scrambled eggs. My father followed this general routine for a lifetime and died young, broke, and I think not too wise. Taking note, I rejected his advice, and it became, for me, late to bed and late to rise. Now, I'm not saying that I've conquered the world, but I've avoided numberless early traffic jams. bypassed some common pitfalls, and have met some strange, fucked up, wonderful people, one of whom was myself, someone my father never knew. And I want to read another piece of his from this same posthumous collection. It's called Notes on Some Poetry. To feign real emotion, yours or the world's, is, of course, unforgivable. Yet many poets, past and present, are adept at this. These are poets who write what I call the comfortable, clever poem. These poems are sometimes written by professors of literature who have been on the job for too long, by the overly ambitious, by young students of the game or the like, but I too am guilty. Last night I wrote 5 comfortably clever poems. And if you're not a professor of literature, overly ambitious, a young student of the game or the like, this can also be caused by too much success with your writing, or even be the result of a life gone cozy. To make matters worse, I mailed out those 5 comfortable, clever poems, and I wouldn't be surprised if 3 or 4 of them were accepted for publication. None of this has anything to do with real emotion and guts. It's just word slinging for the sake of it. And it's done almost everywhere by almost everybody. We forget what we are really about, and the more we forget this, the less we are able to write a poem that stands and screams and laughs on the page. We just become like the many writers who make poetry magazines so dull and unreadable and pretentious. We might just as well not write at all because we've become fakes, cheaters, poem hustlers. So look for us in the next issue of Poetry, a magazine of verse. Look for us in the table of contents. Turn to any of our precious poems and yawn your life away. So I want to return to something from my own works here. This is from a Slew Press collection called Sacred Wounds. I think this thing was published in 15, I think is when it came out. And this is a piece entitled Reading Up on Ecuador. Pilgrims still seek these shores, but I'm reading up on Ecuador. With a dog and a cat at my feet on my Texas porch, it is a sunny winter day. Like the houseplants, I've pulled myself outside for sun, waiting for Kerouac to amble up my street. We'll swap stories about ships and disability benefits, VA hospitals, and rioting in stolen cars. We will not speak of poetry, and I will not share my wine. I'm reading up on Ecuador. They say it's easy living in a land that isn't yours, freed from responsibility, to clean up, to plant, to teach. No need to sweat or serve or toil or bleed. The expatriate life, behind doors, behind walls, behind gates, down streets with signs printed in English, antiseptic isolation, a life of Yankee leisure. What would William Burroughs do? The Rio Grande Valley still looks great this time of year. Palm trees, 10th Street and McAllen, it runs on and on and on. God bless them. God bless them with the beatest prayer that I ever heard, as it was in the beginning, is now, and ever will be. I'm reading up on Ecuador. For a long damn time there, I could have sworn that it was Billy Burroughs, hitchhiker, riding stoned in my back seat, a faint rear view reflection of decades-old cologne. But then I looked again, and it was just a grease stain on my mirror, and I remembered that I now drive a pickup truck, and I haven't picked up a hitchhiker in years. It's called Burroughs in the back. William Burroughs is a fucking trip, man. I mean, I don't know if I'd get along with the cat if I met him, like, in real life or not. I'd probably think he's just an asshole. More than anything else. He'd probably feel the same way about me. But I would know him to be armed just by general reputation. And I would excuse myself from the conversation first. But one of the coolest things, and I've read Burroughs, I get it. I've even pretended I understand that cut up shit. Because I have some friends that say they do, and I get it. One of the coolest things I ever read about him, or I read that he wrote, as just, down to the brass tacks living and stuff we do every day. This is, I'm going to read from a letter that he sent to Allen Ginsberg in April of 1952. And the publishers at Junkie had requested all of that biographical data, that bio that they want from you anytime you get published. Send me this shit. And anywhere from 50 words to, I don't know, 800 words if you got the whole deal of bio about you and how good you are and all that shit. All the ghost tears you got down elementary school. And they're at a point where they want to know if they can call him a queer in the bio data. They want to know, hey, can we say you're gay in this? But how can we refer to your lifestyle here? And then remember, this is 1952. And his go-between in this process between the publisher and Burroughs is Allen Ginsberg. So that's a factor too. And here's from the letter that he sent back. Now, as to this biographical thing, I can't write it. It's too general. I have no idea what they want. Do they have in mind the whole, I worked, but not in the order named, as a cowboy in a Kalamazoo whorehouse, lavatory attendant, male whore, and part-time stool pigeon, currently living in a remodeled pisser with a hermaphrodite and a whole succession of cats? I would rather write than fuck. What a shameless lie. My principal hobby is torturing the cats. We have quite a turnover, especially in the Siameses. That long, silky hair cries aloud for kerosene in a match. I favor kerosene over gasoline. It burns slower. You'd be surprised at the noises a cat can make when the chips are down. That kind of routine, like you see on the back flap? Please, sweetheart, write the fucking thing for me, will you? Now, look, you tell Solomon I don't mind being called queer. T.E. Lawrence, all matter, I'll write Joe's, boy, can I turn a phrase, was queer. But I'll see him castrated before he calls me a fag. That's just what I've been trying to put down. Over, is the distinction between a strong, manly, noble types and the leaping, jumping, window-dressing cocksucker. For Christ's sakes, a girl's got to draw the line somewhere, or publishers will swarm all over us, sticking their nasty old biographical prefaces straight up their ass. And I dug that, because we've been there. And especially getting into all these identity things that are going, what do I say? How do I say it? What do I say? And he's, say it like it is and fuck it. I get that. And it's the spirit of those writers and the folks that were brave enough to be. I searched coming to this thing. I was trying to find some link there. What is the nexus between Burroughs and Bukowski? What is it that ties these two men's lives together, their art together? And there's not a whole lot that I found. Black on white, data point to data point. There's not a whole lot there. But what is just the honesty with which they brought themselves, I think, to the world and to their writing. Neither one of these cats was ever being anything they weren't. And that included some pretty ugly and disturbing shit in both of their cases. I think we're still dealing with the legacy of that sometimes. So our very openness can come back to cloud judgments for folks that come along much later that we may never know about. So there's, again, it's that tension between how much to reveal and how much to hold back. But both Charles Bukowski and William Burroughs lived it balls to the wall. They gave you everything they had, everything they didn't know they had. And I respect that. I respect that. I'm going to close out with a piece out of this new poetry collection of mine. It's called The Motor Hotels of Central Avenue. The title of the piece is If I Die in Philadelphia. If I die in Philadelphia, let it be somewhere beat. Somewhere like the Primrose down by that Christmas light factory. If I die in San Antonio, let it be in an alley on the south side, somewhere off Rigsby Avenue. I want to live until my last breath walking beside Cerrillos Road, a glass pipe in my pocket. I want to shout into the desert night somewhere south of Tucson, praising the Marfa lights. Let me stow away on a C-17 with soldiers heading home. Let me listen to their stories of youth and truth. Let me wander off to Jupiter and catch the Sunday red-eye back. Let me swim in a tumbler of bourbon somewhere a little south of Little Rock. Let my body lie in state with William Burroughs in Emiliano Zapata at the Echo Hotel, room 508, or in a Copper Canyon hostel in early spring. And the day after I die, let me lurk in your red-lit room. Let me taste the fire in your eyes as he takes you time and time again, Marigny, Bywater, lust, setting the Zydeco afternoon aflame, unchained. Thank you very much. My name is P.W. Covington. It's been an honor